So it's I used logic to prove the afterlife. And who knows? But yeah, it's a short video, just under 6 minutes, but I'll probably make it 25. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, let's get into it.
Time has no beginning and no end. That might sound a little strange, a little weird, but let's, break this down for you. First off, the only way time could ever truly end is if everything ceased to exist. Completely. Because as long as anything exists, it does so within time.
But see, the thing is, right, like a lot of the times in like speculatory science of like what the fourth dimension would be, a lot of people say, oh well, time would be it because it's another form of measurement, it's another level of depth, so it's like you can't say time wouldn't exist if nothing existed, because I feel like time is kind of just like an inevitable thing, right? Like he's probably going to go into explaining why he thinks otherwise, but I genuinely feel like whether you do something or not, whether you are creating or not creating, or just simply being neutral, time is ever going. Now, you could argue that something isn't real if it cannot be perceived. That's a very fair argument, very philosophical. So therefore, you could say that if people and intelligent beings aren't around, or things that are affected by time, you could argue that time therefore does not exist because it is not being observed. But then you get into like what the fuck? Sorry. Theories of like quantum entanglement and the slit experiment, and then like Schrodinger's cat, like, perception defines reality. And while that may be true, is that objective? Because that sounds objectively subjective. A lot of interesting things to talk about.
Time isn't something separate from existence. It's part of the very fabric of reality itself. That blanket we call reality, part of the fabric. As long as there's something to exist, there's time. Now you might be thinking,
then again, reality is our perception.
Big Bang? Didn't time begin then? But that assumes the Big Bang was the absolute starting point. In reality, for the Big Bang,
which we don't know if it is,
something had to have caused it.
Because energy cannot be created or destroyed. That's a simple law of physics.
Of our understanding.
And for anything to happen, time had to have already existed. You can't have events without time to allow them. So even before the Big Bang, time was still ticking. Now you may ask, but what if there was a time when nothing truly existed, just nothing? Well, here's the kicker. Nothing has never existed, and it will never exist. And that's not just philosophical, that's backed by the laws of physics.
Because energy cannot be created or destroyed.
In a universe where something always exists, time must always exist too.
So I'm curious if he's going to get into like... I'm curious if he's going to get into kind of like because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? The different states of our reality are just different states of energy. So like the Big Bang is just the highest and most pure form of potential energy, whereas the universe and the expanding form of our current reality is the most purest form of kinetic energy. Because then you would have to argue that, because then if you say like it can't be created, then you can't say there's nothing. You could just say there's nothing right now, which would mean potential, and there's the potential for there to be something, which I don't know. I'll have to figure it out.
By the way, if you want to hear more about this nothing thing, I did make a whole video on it, so I don't know, maybe you should watch that or something. I don't know, dude.
All right, what does this mean? It means our universe is a monkey. Okay, not a literal monkey, but a metaphorical one. The infinite monkey theorem describes a monkey hitting random keys on a typewriter, and that given infinite time and hitting random keys, that monkey will eventually hit the random keys in such an order that would be identical to a Shakespearean play. In fact, given infinite time, that monkey will hit all those keys in...
I'm sorry, but like, and this is why like philosophy is great, but also absolutely annoying, because that shit's just fucking stupid. That's like saying, given 1,000,000 lifetimes in 1,000,000 instances, because we're getting to like the theory of the egg, I could be every single professional athlete ever to exist. And I could also be every homeless person ever to exist. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. If you put an infinite possibility on something, then anything can be possible. I hate shit like that because it's like, okay, cool. What does that have to do with what the fuck I'm talking about?
Every order possible. So let's just think about the universe for a second. The universe is in constant motion. Gravity pushes and pulls, atoms vibrate, light moves in waves, explosions, solar flares, black holes. The universe is never still. Thus we have our monkey. So the universe is constantly hammering away at that typewriter, combining elements and quarks and atoms and blowing them apart in an infinite dance over incomprehensible amounts of time. Which means every combination of letters will eventually be written. Every combination of atoms, quarks, and elements. But let's talk about you for a second. You are a combination of those letters. You are just as valid a creation as the sun, or a planet, or one of those billions of stars that drift across the galaxy. Or this big old can of root beer. You are a combination of those letters that the universe typed in the infinite chaos that time provides. And the evidence for this is the very fact that you're breathing. You're here, which means you're possible. And given enough time, every possibility is an inevitability.
So is he making the argument that, like, because in an infinite loop that everything becomes possible and that every state of, like, that would mean every state of consciousness, every state of existence, every state of reality, therefore a reality in which your body doesn't exist but your soul does and your spirit does, and that's where he's getting into the afterlife. I mean, if that's the argument, then fine, but I hope that's not the argument, because I was hoping for more of like a, here's a mathematical framework that shows that things have a place to go when because energy, like, you know, like the whole energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So therefore, like, your brain is energy, you know, it's nervous system is energy, things moving around, and therefore when you die and that energy stops, that energy has to go somewhere. That's a weird argument that's going to be confusing to think about, but I was hoping it was something more along that lines, but we'll see.
What does this have to do with the afterlife? You are possible. We know you're possible by the simple fact that you're breathing and seeing this, which means, given an incomprehensible amount of time, the universe will have hit the random keys in the order that will create you. This is an amazing concept, because after you die and the world explodes and the sun fizzles out or whatever, your body will simply go back to its most rudimentary parts, basic building blocks of the universe, atoms, etc. You'll be the letters the universe writes with again, as you were before you were born, which means the universe will eventually type that random key combination that is you. It would take an absolute eternity, but you will exist again. And to you, it would seem like you had just died and woke up again. Because, think about it, do you have any recollection of the billions of years that happened before you were born? No! It'll go like this. Doo-doo-doo, walking along, boom! Struck by lightning. What's this? I'm a baby! What? No way! I've already been a baby. I can't be a baby again. Can't even believe it. Of course I am. This is totally normal. Because I have no recollection of my previous life. Because my brain decayed into atoms millions of years ago. Which also means that you could have lived before. Which means that you're living in an afterlife as we speak. In fact, there's no telling how many lives you've lived before. Which isn't as comforting as this video was made to be, but you know what? With that, I give you life after death. The afterlife if you're feeling saucy. You're welcome, atheists. Even your belief system has an afterlife. Yes, I'm like the... Given infinite time, anything is possible. Even going off of what we know, which is that everything around us exists. We can speculate on an afterlife. So the question is not whether or not we'll wake again, but instead, what kind of universe will we see after trillions of years.
The fucking Subnautica music, bro. Gotta let it play, though. Oh, don't do that to me. That fucking music is gas, bro. Come on. Subnautica music is absolutely gas. Man, now I'm even more... for those of you who don't know, Subnautica 2 is coming out in literally a day and a half, and now I'm just fucking shaking to be able to fucking play it, and I'm gonna pre-order it tonight and download it so it's ready. Oh, that's annoying. I gotta go find the Subnautica music. But yeah, great video. Interesting concepts. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest, but I mean, it was a short video, so I knew it was gonna be kind of a assumption-based hypothesis, which it would have been no matter what, but I think you know what I mean when I say this. It felt very much like well, this is possible because in an endless loop, anything's possible. And while that's fair and true and an interesting thought experiment, I don't particularly find that super interesting. I find that relatively bland of a thought process because there is no challenge, right? It's one of those things where I can't say, well, that's not true, because it's like, well, am I just going to say something's not infinite? It's one of those things where it's literally impossible to prove the negative. Like, I can't say the chair that I'm sitting on does exist, because when I look away from my camera and I don't look down, I don't know it's there. I could just be sitting on hard air, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like you can't prove the negative. Still a good video, still a cool idea. But yeah, I wish there was like more interesting. I gotta find a more interesting theory about the afterlife. I think that's gonna be the next video. But thank you for showing up. Adios, adios, adios.